I was at a meeting last night where you were quoting.
What meeting? What I do? What meeting?
It was good, but basically,
wait a minute.
the idea that the whole issue of reconciliation basically assumes that there is a relationship.
Yeah.
And I was wondering your thoughts about where does the whole idea of Black truth mattering fit into the scheme of establishing a relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because in Black History Month as well too, racial reconciliation is always, key, right? Let's reconcile. How can we reconcile? My argument is that reconciliation can only happen if the two parties or the two groups of people were together to begin with.
Right.
I mean, so give me a period that you want to reconcile to when we talk about racial reconciliation. Not this period. So, so where does this all fit? This all fits, though, within the, I will argue, in Black truth being shared, being openly shared, being not looked at as erroneous or false, and then this whole notion again of just confession. Just like, listen, I would like to have a relationship. Let's start. And it starts by acknowledging your truth. Your truth is important. Your truth should not be dismissed. I mean, how many times? I mean, it's almost to a point where I can make a cogent argument that it becomes disrespectful. That how many times do I have to tell you something is happening to me and you consider myself, we friends, and you still disbelieve me? I mean, in any other relationship, we would not hold that up and say, but we like reconciliation. We like that. We love those stories. We love, it's the thing to do. But the hard work, as Jennifer Harvey talks about in her book, Dear White People, and if you really want to get a book that talks about reconciliation in a spiritual context, right? Reconciliation, her argument is reparations. See, the reconciliation has failed because it's always formulated on the side of power. And, this is what you need to do to be reconciled, and we need to do this together. And I'm going to tell you what instead of the other way around. And this is what Black Lives Matter is saying, actually. They're not looking, they're asking that question, where have we ever been together? So if we want to form a relationship, let's start. But how does any relationship start? It's by both parties getting together and sharing their truths. Yes.
When you say Black truth matters, how
yes.
do you feel when people shed light also on the truth of the person who was killed, like the Black person?
Right.
Trayvon, they'll say he was unfairly killed, but he had marijuana in his system.
Right. Yeah, and that's part of it, and that's why Black Lives Matter activists and the Black Lives Matter movement is not even getting into that debate. They're not even entertaining it's Black life, period. Because they understand that someone like myself, for instance, well, don't use me, I got too many skeletons. Somebody like Gilmore here, who's innocent. But no, seriously. But anything can be constructed. Any picture. Matter of fact, when a lot of this was happening, this is Trayvon, or this is Mike Brown. They weren't even Trayvon or Mike Brown. It was just some dude. So if I can just put up a meme and have everybody believe in it, so the notion of Black truth mattering is to still speak the truth even in the face of, dare I even say prophetically, it's like a prophetic movement as well, but to speak the truth in the face of folk who would decry and deride your truth, but you still stand up there and you still speak it, because in the end of the day, you got to just say, hey, I did what I felt I needed to do at the particular time. And that's exactly what's happening. Notice, there's no debate on where he was this, or look at this picture. Other people do that, but Black Lives Matter, just with these women. When those women, those few women who stayed at the courthouse, day in and day out, trying to drum up activity on Twitter. This is what's going down. This is what's happening. We believe that, you know, he may just, you know, get away with this. We need help, you know. And people were like, well, you know, they were kind of shady. But they're human, first and foremost. And no one needed to be violated like that. And so they just stood in that. And that's actually moral. That's the moral high ground. Yes.
Another word that gets used a lot in these conversations or dialogues is healing.
Healing.
We often talk about how we need to have conversations for reconciliation and healing. And I'm not so sure about what people mean by healing or how appropriate that is and for what side and for what reason is that healing. Is it the healing necessary for some people so that they feel less responsible or guilty or
fragility,
the outcome.
yeah, what
Right.
yeah.
Well, my wife Lisa is a mediator. She does conflict resolution, and she talks about this all the time. Talks about what does it mean to begin the healing process. One of the things that it means, and not just white fragility, right? To make sure that white people are all right, you know, with the case. No. You need to hear my truth. You need to sit there and hear this. It's going to be painful. It's going to be painful for me to share it. I mean, if we're serious about, and we can only do that, I argue, with people that we feel comfortable with, not in a broad spectrum. I can't come into the UC and just have that. I'm just going to share my feelings. No, it has to be with people that's really invested in that. And I have to listen to you and share and all of that. And we only begin the healing process when we feel heard. Think about much of this is not difficult because we go through it all the time with any type of relationship that we find ourselves in. It's only when I feel heard and feel affirmed, even if you disagree with me, I can live with that. But I felt like I was heard, I was affirmed, and you met me at least some of the ways. And we can begin to walk together, and then personally, then reconciliation could happen because I use this example all the time. Me and Dr. Edgar, we're friends. If we have a falling out, we can come back 2 weeks later and reconcile because we had a good relationship at the beginning. But if we never had a relationship, there's no reconciliation at all. It's distrust. It's no harmony. It's disharmony. And we have to get to the point where we can begin to trust